Welcome to the Greg's Garage Pod with co-host Jason Pridmore. I'm Greg White, and this is our 2019 MotoAmerica Preview Podcast. Jason will be joining me a little bit later on in the show to talk about what we can expect to see this season. But before we get into all that, I had a chance to talk to the president of MotoAmerica, Wayne Rainey, the very same man who won 3 consecutive 500 GP titles. And I asked Wayne, tell me about MotoAmerica, in general. And we actually had a conversation, so you'll hear me ask him a couple of questions. Here we go.
So for 2019, we've done a huge investment. So we've been able to bring in the TV production, and with that opened up all kinds of doors with us about getting and working with other networks. So last couple of years we were with the BN network, and that was real good for us. But now since we brought on the production, we've been able to land Fox Sports 2 for the Superbike class. And then we got the NBC Sports Network, and we're going to have a behind the scenes kind of a documentary type piece about inside MotoAmerica. So we're really excited about that. And then we also got our live plus video pass that you'll be able to watch MotoAmerica from all over the world. So we've done some great things with that.
A press release just came out about the actual growth of the entries for MotoAmerica, and you can see that in the Twins Cup class, 333% increase in entries, which is amazing. But how do you see the series in terms of growth for 2019? Whether it's in the paddock, out of the paddock, fans. Obviously, we know about the TV package. So how do you see the growth from when you guys started until now?
No, it's amazing, Greg. Yeah, so. Let's just talk about going to Road Atlanta. We are up over 20% on our entries. We have over 123 entries for Atlanta. We're kind of thinking the paddock might be a little small there now, but this is also with all the entries that we got. This is the first year that we have not messed with the class structure. So what we had last year with all the classes is exactly the same. So this is the start of year 5. And we think that everything that we've done with, starting with the LiquiMoly Junior Cup and, going in through the Twins and the Stock 1000, Supersport, and then the EBC Brake Superbike class, this structure is working really well. And we're starting to see the racers move up through those classes. And so we got a very competitive structure this year.
Now, you have a very international appeal. A lot of people across the pond over in Japan. What are some of the things you're hearing about MotoAmerica that U.S. road racing is back on the lips of people around the world?
Well, it's as you know, we've been working with Dorna quite a bit. They help us with our TV and some other things. They've also they want us to really push for this MotoAmerica Talent Cup, and so this is something that we're looking at now for the future. But what I can say about the rest of the world, as far as the people that I'm in contact, everybody now knows the name, they know the brand, they know that I'm involved with the U.S. Championship. They know what we're trying to do. They know that it almost had disappeared, and so what we're trying to do is get this thing competitive again and make it a championship that anybody can come and race from anywhere in the world, like it used to be, like it was when I raced here. So I think we're getting a lot of press now. This video pass really opens up so the other countries can see how competitive MotoAmerica is, and they haven't had that chance in the past. So we expect a big popularity growth this year.
So now let me welcome in Jason Pridmore. Hi, Jason. How are you?
What's up, Greg? Hey, first off, happy birthday, G-Dub. Hopefully you're having a good day today. And how ironic that the craziest guy I know is born on April 1st. But happy birthday.
Yeah, thanks.
I was as nice as I could be about that, but yes, happy birthday.
Yeah, we'll just stop it there. But anyway, a lot to unpack with Wayne, what Wayne said in the answers that he was giving.
Just listening to what Wayne has to say, there's a couple things that I wrote down as he was talking there that I really like. I really believe that when Wayne kind of signed his name onto this thing, our series had been beat up so bad. I think what people really wanted to see is if this was going to be a sustainable thing for him, or was he just a name on the sheet that was trying to draw some attention and see how it worked for a couple of years. And now we're into it on year 5. And the thing that amazes me about this is that Wayne is so accessible. I say it all the time. He's at all the races. He's accessible. But but the stuff that he brings in there, our grids are definitely bigger. There's a lot more interest. There's a lot more intrigue going into this year, I think, with all the classes, as opposed to even 2 years ago or 3 years ago. There's a lot of different things that MotoAmerica has done as an organization to try to pique the interest of people all over the world, which he talked about there. The TV and the video pass this year, I think for you and I is going to be great, but more importantly, it's going to be great for our fans. They're going to get a lot more information and of who these riders are, selling personalities. So I was really interested to hear what he had to say there, and for sure, I think that they've created a lot more interest.
From that perspective, I think people are looking at it. I also think that compared to, say, the way the old Superbike used to be, the fact that you can have someone that's 14 years old at this point come race on a road race bike is critical. And I know that they're looking into it. I know Weir is looking into it. How do we get even younger people on motorcycles, minis and stuff? Is it a viable option perhaps to have some of those races, at the same venues that we're going to, or maybe in and around it or something like that? So I think the idea too is it's difficult, right? You got to satisfy the people that are racing now and make sure they have jobs and show fans great racing, but you've also got to figure out a way to feed that younger generation, get them off of dirt bikes and get them onto mini bikes, and just give them a highway to get to the Superbike class or to get to GP.
I think a couple of things that when you hear them talk about Talent Cup stuff, and you heard Wayne say that they're looking at starting a Talent Cup, one of the hardest things about getting kids even under the age of 14 at some of these racetracks is just the legality of it. Some tracks won't even let kids ride until they're 16 or whatever the case. So I think once our series continues to evolve that way, once America starts to look at it and think, okay, it's okay for these kids at 8, 10, 12 years old to be road racing and getting on bikes. I mean, motocross kids are doing it at 5 or younger, they're getting on bikes. I think that's part of the challenge with that. When you talk about the series in general going all over the world, there's a lot of things that are attractive about coming to America. I mean, I think that there's a lot of people worldwide that would like to come to America in general and see the States, but more importantly, we have really solid racetracks over here, I feel. Our weather is usually really pretty good at most of them, although for a while there, MotoAmerica was cursed with some rain at just about every track we went to. I think the second year or first year I was on TV with you, I think we were just packing the rain suits everywhere. But now it's getting to that point again, Greg, like it was way back in the day when I was getting calls. When I was kind of going both to Europe to do World Endurance and still doing some racing here in America, I would get bombarded with riders. I mean, literally when I was over there doing races, how do I get to America? And we're starting to see that more again. I am still getting messages now from my friends that are over there that are racing, talking about how they'd like to come here and ride. We've seen in the last couple of years the idea that there's been some pretty big names that have been linked with rides here at MotoAmerica to come ride for some of the teams here. So I think overall, the spectrum, the platform that they have built is making it really intriguing for not just our guys within our own paddock, but all over the world. And I think that's where that we're seeing a lot of strength coming now from places, and more manufacturer involvement with the contingencies. There's a little bit more money involved, all that kind of thing. They've done a great job with just trying to make our series the best it can be.
And make no mistake, the health of the motorcycle industry doesn't define what MotoAmerica does, but there is a link somewhere, and so you're looking at an industry that is really down from where it was 11 years ago, and a series that's trying to rebuild. So to me, it's like, this is the 5th year. They've got a better television package. There's more people that are entering the races at this point, and that are making MotoAmerica an option for their racing season. Because as you know, Jay, some people are going to race it full time, and other people can only do the stuff that's in their region that are going to fill some of the grids.
Yep.
And that's great, but I think, you can't just go, the series is the series and, the entries are down or this is down. It's like, there is an industry out there, the motorcycle industry, that is trying to figure out ways to be healthy again. And there's the possibility that MotoAmerica might play a role in that, because if it can ignite a fire in people once again that no road racing exists, then maybe they're going to be interested in buying bikes again that are going to be more on the sport bike focus. Track days are very popular. It's just a matter of getting people to buy new bikes.
No, I agree. And I think that you're right, though, Greg, not to interrupt, but I think you're right. And we've talked about it a lot lately in the last, say, 2 months. There definitely just seems to be something's changing in our culture. Like as far as motorcycles are, there's just seems to be more interest and more. There's a lot of new models still being out there getting released, and people just seem to be getting behind this a little bit more. And look, they've done everything they can now to make MotoAmerica as accessible as it can be. There are no more excuses. There are no more excuses for people to not want to see the races or get involved with the races. I mean, being on NBC, being on Fox, having a paywall, there's no reason now why people cannot see what MotoAmerica is about. And I think the people from 7, 8, 10, 9, years ago that were bad mouthing the series when it was in a bad spot, it really was. They need to reconsider what they remember from those days and look at what is going on now. It's definitely better. And I think the fact that we start in Atlanta, and you brought it up, the twins class to Wayne, there's 39 entries right now. And I think a lot of people will go there because there's such a huge popularity in that class, especially in that Southeast region. We saw it at Barber at the last race last year. The next round after this for them is VIR. So I think a lot of them will be like, okay, let's go see how we do in Atlanta. And if we do well enough, we got what? Is it like a month, Greg, to the next one for them up at VIR?
3 weeks. Yeah.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, because we go to COTA and then, we got a couple weeks off till we go to VIR. And then it's like, then we go to what I think the best track in the country at Road America. And I think it gives people like, let's get to the first round. Let's do everything we can, whether we're in Superstock or 600 or whatever. Let's get to the first round, see how we do. And then let's go to VIR after that. And some guys might not have the money right now to do the full series, but they're going to see how their results go and go from there. I've never seen so much hype around the first round as we're starting to see now, even with all the entries in the classes that we have.
And speaking of classes, let's go ahead and go through them. So what I've done is talk to kind of the leader, I guess you could say, for each class, and I'll qualify it. So the first one we're going to talk about is going to be the, in MotoAmerica, we have the 5 classes, and the premier class obviously is Superbike. So it's known this year as the EBC Brake Superbike class, and the reigning champ is Cameron Beaubier. And since he is the number 1 plate for the season, I asked him to give us his take on 2019.
Yeah, I'm excited for 2019. I feel like this offseason's been a little longer than the past few, and I think that just kind of, goes to show I'm ready to go racing. So I'm excited to line up with the guys. It's going to be a pretty stacked field this year. With Heron on the Yosh bike, my teammate's been going really fast at all the tests we've done. Garrett, and with Gagne back in MotoAmerica, I think that's going to be really good for the series. I think he's going to be really fast on the BMW. I know Matty Schultz he's on the same electronics package as we are, so our bikes are, I think our bikes are a little closer, and I think he's going to be really solid this year. And obviously Tony, there's a handful of guys that are going to be up front racing, so I'm really looking forward to it. I was, I'm just ready to go racing. This off season, testing wise, we really didn't have much to test, which for a rider or in a rider's aspect, it's almost better because you can go and just kind of pound out laps and get comfortable, and this package you had is the same as last year, and we won on that package. And I think that gives me some good confidence going into the season with the Yamaha boys. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think everyone has kind of figured out the new tires, the softer front and the bigger rear tire. And I think it's going to be pretty close this year at a lot of tracks. But I think there are some tracks that benefit the Yamaha a little bit better, and then other tracks that benefit the Suzuki a little bit better, such as like a COTA, for example, for Suzuki. And for me, I would say like a Sonoma or something like that. Maybe like a little tighter, flowier track for the R1. So I think it's good for the series, and it's going to be good racing this year. That's for sure.
Do you think I'm putting too much expectation on the field, on the EBC Brake Superbike class, Jason, by saying I think that a lot of these races are going to come down to, a couple tenths of a second or maybe even 1 second between a couple of riders?
No, I think that this year our championship is it's just going to be incredible. He mentioned all of them. I think all the guys he just mentioned, and Cameron's probably going to hate me for this, but the one guy he didn't bring up even is JD Beach. That's another guy you're going to throw in there, and the fact that Gagne's on a new bike,
Jake Lewis, I think on the
Jake
M4
too.
Suzuki.
Yeah, Jake too. So, but you're 100% right. There's just so many guys that can go to the front and be up there. I think we're going to see a string of guys at the beginning of these races, especially the first half, where it's going to be 7 or 8 guys in a tow. And then we're going to see who's got what at the end. The interesting thing to me is we talked about World Superbike, the Yamaha's over there, and they didn't really have anything really to test. The Yamaha has not really had too much new stuff to it. And I'm sure that there was a couple little things that Cameron got to test, but you heard him say he's just really got to go pound out a bunch of laps. And being out here in Southern Cal, I know that Yoshi's been testing a lot. I know that Yamaha's been testing a lot. They've been going to Buttonwillow. They've been going to Thunder Hill. Yoshi's even gone out to Chuckwalla. So when you know that they've been, it just seems like there's a lot more emphasis on getting guys ready to go for this first round. But our Superbike Championship right now, one of the things you and I discussed before we got on this specific podcast was it's really hard for you and I to choose who we think are winners. And I know as the color guy, for me, it's at the championship, it's going to go through Cameron. That's where it's got to, until someone could really step up and beat Cameron. He's had some bad luck at the beginning of the years and he's won championships. He's had some good luck at the beginning of the years and then had some mid-season mistakes and he's won championships. So I think Heron's going to be extremely tough. Alias is going to be extremely tough. But man, there's just so many guys that you can throw in that mix that on any given weekend, they could take points away from the main guys. So the championship will be tight, I believe, all the way to the end.
And I think if you look at a dark horse that's, so if we look at the entries right now, for Road Atlanta, you have Cameron Beaubier, Josh Heron, Matthew Skoltz. We have a couple of entries that are coming in from the Canadian Superbike Series. Sam Verterico's back, Tony Elias, Garrett Gerloff, Jake Gagne, Kyle Wyman on that Ducati. Kyle, if they can start figuring that out, he could be a podium finisher in a couple races on any given Sunday. Cam Peterson, you have Jake Lewis, Max Flinders, JD Beach, and Jeff May. I don't think Jeff's going to be a full-time, but, Road Atlanta is his local one. But the other guy that I didn't mention, Jason, that I think if he could figure out just how to have just a smooth weekend, maybe 2 or 3 smooth weekends in a row, is going to be David Anthony. I do think that David's got enough speed, given the right condition, being the only Kawasaki in the field, that he's also another guy that definitely can put it in the top 5. And maybe, if he can find just a smooth weekend, figure it out and put the thing on the podium, especially if it rains or something. You know what I mean?
It's definitely going to be harder, but David's been riding a ton out here. I mean, he's been doing, with the money that Kawasaki's been putting up contingency wise at some of the races I hear. He was at AFM a couple of weeks ago. He's at Chuckwalla this weekend. He was in Vegas, I think, a weekend ago with Weira. So he's been putting his time in. I think the hardest part for David is differentiating, the club race level compared to obviously MotoAmerica. And he even knows it's a huge step. And having to be team manager and doing all the things that he has to do, working on the bikes and stuff, man, at this level, it's a lot harder. But see, it's so funny because we're going through that list of riders, and of course, Kyle Wyman. I mean, how pumped are we to have him on a Ducati this year? And it's not any disrespect that nobody's forgetting Kyle. It's just there's just so many guys now that if you forget one person, you feel bad you're leaving anybody out. But I think our Superbike racing is going to be great, and that's really where it starts, isn't it, Greg? Like if our Superbike series, the Superbike races themselves, can actually be as good as we think that they are, it's going to draw people to watch the Supersport category again to see who might be the next guy to make that jump up, as we've seen Garrett Gerloff do, as we've seen Cameron do over the years from there. Jake Lewis has come from 600s, Kyle Wyman. So when you look at it, there's a number of guys there, obviously including JD as well. There's a number of guys there that in our 600 class that will be making that jump. So we want to make it to our Superbike racing is the absolute best. And then that's going to make it to where other people, where people will start tuning in and watching some of these other races as well.
Yep, 100%, because we know that the highest rated stuff that comes out of MotoAmerica, the old AMA Superbike, whatever, is the Superbike class. And so, you get good racing there, and it all trickles down.
Trickles down,
and
for
speaking
sure.
speaking of the trickle down, all right, next on our list to talk about is Supersport. Now, with the exit of JD Beach to the Superbike class, last year's runner-up has to be the favorite going into this year. That's Hayden Gillim. So I asked him to give us his thoughts on this year.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of competition. Definitely with PJ coming back, he's gonna be really strong and tough, and obviously he's had some pretty good success on 600s over in World Supersport, and so that's gonna be a lot of fun having him back, and then having Bobby Fong move down into the class on the M4 bike. He's gonna be strong. That bike's really good, and that team works really well. So those two are for sure thing. Nick McFadden has gotten just watching him ride over the off season and training with him and everything. He's looking not that he wasn't strong last year, but he's looking a lot stronger than what he was. So those three guys for sure. Braden Ort, it'll be interesting to see how he does on that Kawasaki 600 or 636 or whatever it is. And I don't know. There's a lot of people in that class. There's a lot of talent in that class, and it's going to be interesting to see kind of where everybody falls at the first race here in a week.
And he could have gone even deeper than that if he wanted to. I mean, Richie Escalante, Jason Aguilar. I mean, there's just so many names in this field. Bryce Prince. So, yeah. What's your take on this Supersport class?
How about Sean Dillon Kelly?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, look, I told you how impressed I was with him. I actually ran into Jeremy Toy this weekend, who was crew chiefing for him, and he just had the highest praise ever for Sean. I think having Bobby Fong on that team is a great thing as well, obviously. Bobby looked great at Daytona. The M4 Suzukis are going to be tough. But again, this championship for me, when I look at it, it's going to have to go through Hayden. And I'll tell you why, because last year when we looked at him going against JD Beach, I think everybody kind of handed JD the crown before the season even started. And Hayden came out of the ring, he was just firing right off the bat in Atlanta. And so we're talking about PJ. PJ was down at Barber this weekend testing. I just saw from his Instagram. I think, though, that when we saw the original kind of lineup of what we had here for 600s, we were kind of thinking it's going to be the Hayden and PJ show. I don't think it's going to be like that. He even brought up Nick McFadden. We haven't even talked about Nick. Again, no disrespect. It's just Nick's been on the Suzuki. Now he's teammates to Hayden, and we saw that Hayden was able to step up. Nick might be that guy this year that steps up and starts getting on the podium regularly. We kept on rooting for Nick to get on the podium last year and such, and he was just kind of always there, fourth, fifth, and that might be the year. What about Bryce Prince? Another guy. He's hungry. He's aggressive. He's back with tuned racing. He's going to be ready to go. Jason Aguilar, I saw him this weekend walking around. So his injuries from Daytona don't look like they're going to prevent him from being able to go into Atlanta ready to go as well. So again, you've got 30 something entries, I think, Greg, somewhere in there for this class. And it's a long season. I think that there's a lot of new fresh faces. Corey Ventura being one of them, coming up from our LiquiMoly Championship. He's stepping right up onto a 600 with the Omega Moto team, who, they've got Cameron Peterson obviously on their Superbike. Braden Ort, you heard Hayden say it, with now he's on a Graves Kawasaki. So
Nolan Lampkin in the mix. Like the thing that's interesting to me about the Supersport class is not only who's going to be running up front. We know that Hayden Gillim is a front runner, and he's been up there because it was really JD Beach, Hayden and Valentin DeBees up front, and then you had a whole bunch of people behind him. So one thing I'm looking for is who's going to be able to step up. Obviously, Hayden picked who he thinks is going to be. But the other exciting thing to me is during the course of the season is who is going to emerge as someone who can contend at the front. Maybe a name that we don't know. Maybe a rider like Benjamin Smith, who's on the Team Norris Racing Yamaha off of a Suzuki, and maybe that treats him better and he finds his legs because he's a champion. There's people that are in the Supersport class that we're not talking about that we might be talking about halfway through the season that might be a real contender. So
Did we mention Richie Escalante?
I briefly touched on Richie, as one of the people that Hayden didn't talk about because Richie. Yeah.
He's another one. And Josh, I saw somebody working with Richie a little bit this weekend, just out there and no rumors, nothing, but it's great because Josh Hayes is kind of showing his face a little bit more even at these days. And he kind of hung out with the Hudson boys a little bit this weekend, just to kind of hear how Richie communicated with his crew and that kind of stuff. And, the thing is that there's a lot of knowledge now for a lot of these young guys to go and reach out to. And I think that if you see that could be that step that they need to make. And I think Richie's going to be another guy that could be up there and giving people a hard time. And I know that team is a one-rider team. They're going to be able to focus on him. So yeah, I think Greg, literally there's probably 6 or 7 guys that we can pick from this now that maybe at the beginning of the year, we thought there might be just 2, now I think that we can look at 6 or 7 people.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. Now, as for our next class, Jason, which is the LiquiMoly Junior Cup, smaller displacement motorcycles designed as kind of a starter class. The rules in line with the World Supersport 300. Now, the class champion is Alex Dumas, and he has moved on into Twins Cup. Second in points, Corey Ventura is in Supersport, like you mentioned, blah, blah, blah. Well, the top 5 from last year are not in Junior Cup. Let's just put it that way. So it's hard to pick a favorite, but I think Jackson Blackmon has got to be one of the favorites because he finished 6th in the championship. He's the highest finisher in the championship to remain there. So I asked him about his program and what he thinks the class will be like this year.
I'm really excited about this year. We got the brand new 2019 Yamaha R3. I want to say made just a couple weeks ago, and so now we're trying to get it fitted with the GYTR race kit provided by Yamaha. It's what we got this year. Since last year, there's a little bit down on some of the bottom end power compared to the Kawasaki and KTM. So we've got the new race kit this year to put on the Yamaha. And we got a couple new sponsors this year also, like Blood Lubricants has come on board, and HJC helmets. And hopefully we can get this 2019 Yamaha ready soon, because first round's just in a week, and it's been a little hard taking the bike from street legal to race ready in such a little bit of time. Now that I've been running the class, and this is the second year of the Junior Cup class, and I did the KTM Cup before. I got a good bit of experience at all the racetracks, and most of them being on the East Coast, which is pretty close to me. So that's always nice. And I haven't really looked at the rider entry list. I've just been out my dad's shop, do a bunch of work and getting ready for the season. And so we're just ready to show up at round 1 and just put 100% in at, every race, every round. And I think that's going to be the key this year, is just to be 100% ready for every race and what this championship might throw at us.
So interesting when you look at the entry list for the LiquiMoly Junior Cup class. At the moment, Jason, it looks like it's going to be the Kawasaki Ninja 400 Cup. There's only one Honda CBR 500, which is Cameron Jones, which I like. Nobody's run the CBR 500R yet. So there'll be some rules for him. Yep. A little bit heavier of a bike. You think the motor displacement, but they didn't. And only 2 Yamaha R3s on the last list that we have. However, there have been some chatter about that, hasn't there?
Well, yeah, I think that the fact that, and you heard Jackson talking about the fact that, the kit that he can get on that bike now to try to make the Yamaha a little bit more competitive, because last year the KTMs and Cowies definitely had an advantage. I think this is the hardest class for MotoAmerica to govern, because we need this class in our paddock, and all these manufacturers are making it difficult for MotoAmerica because they're all different CC bikes. So they've got a restrictor plate now for the Cowie, and they're going to allow the Yamaha to have some other parts on their bikes. And I just hope that we can see some good close racing with speeds that are relative to each other. I'm sure that this is the class that MotoAmerica probably worries about the most in that regard. And when you look at it, this is where, hopefully all our future champions and stuff are coming from. And I look down the list of kids. It's going to be a shootout again. There are some incredibly talented kids. We've got Kevin Almeida coming back. I know Hunter Dunham's coming back again. Dominic Doyle, who we saw a couple years ago, I think he rode a Road Racing World KTM 390 in a wild card appearance. He's going to be there. Toby Kamsuk's going to be there as well. There's a young man out here now that I just finally got to meet yesterday named Rocco Landers, who is just ripping out here on the West Coast, and all the CVMA stuff going very fast. And then, of course, Damian Jigalov, who we've seen, Dallas Daniels. Where do you stop? There's just so many kids, and there's a lot of them that are
Jamie
coming back.
Ostadio.
I was just going to say Jamie Ostadio.
Gage Reese.
Gage Reese.
There's a new kid riding for Westby Racing. Samuel Lockoff, I believe is how and he comes with high praise from Chuck Giacchetto. So yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be the LiquiMoly Junior Cup class that we've normally seen. The thing is, we were in a meeting, Jason, and Dylan Gray, who works with us this year, former MotoGP pit reporter, now working for MotoAmerica. He'd mentioned that in his research that there's rumors that a lot of these racers might be jumping off of the Ninja 400 because of the restrictor plate and lining up on R3s. We don't know that yet. We're going to know that obviously when we're there. So as we continue on with our MotoAmerica stuff, our podcast, we'll kind of fill you in. But right now, just in terms of on paper, it looks like a lot of Kawasaki Ninjas.
The funniest part about this that you're saying is that there was quite a few of the kids at the end of the year that were trying to sell their Yamahas that couldn't get rid of them because people saw what the Kawi and the KTM did. So they've still got their Yamahas, even though they probably, they've gone out and bought Kawasaki's or whatever anyways. And maybe they're going to have a choice now of what they want to ride. Maybe they get this Yamaha kit and they have a Kawi and a Yamaha sitting there, and, they'll figure out before the race weekend which one of those two they want to ride, depending on whatever advantage one has over the other. So, no, I think it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be a fun year to watch. It's the race that probably gets me the most nervous, watching all these young riders going after each other, and it's like watching Moto3 overseas. It's also close. The World Supersport 300 is just ridiculous as well, and you watch that, but when you watch it, that's what our series has now become. So we'll see how it's going to go. But it's one of the most fun classes. When you and I were not announcing it before, I got to say I paid attention, but not a lot. Yeah, first year, but I love it now. I mean, I literally love it. And so many of these young guys come up to you and I and introduce themselves to us, which is so neat because then we get to know them, and then we get to kind of follow them through their careers, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and if you have the Live Plus package from MotoAmerica, you can always go online and take a look at that schedule on when you can see it, because you're going to be able to, starting on Saturday, you're going to be able to watch that LiquiMoly Junior Cup race number 1. That's at 1:10 p.m. locally, and Jason and I will be commentating that as well. So you'll be able to watch both those races on Saturday, Sunday. That's a regular event. So it's Superbike, Supersport, and LiquiMoly Junior Cup that are on the regular for the entire series. Well, I mean, there's the exception, obviously, when we go to COTA in support of MotoGP. We're only bringing the Superbike class, so there won't be a tremendous amount of Live Plus coverage during that weekend, but you're going to have a great opportunity to watch these racers, how close it is. And keep in mind, it's 14 to 25 still, right? 25 last year, they changed the minimum age limit.
Yep.
So
that's right.
The class is designed, like I mentioned before, to really bring riders up. So we'll see how this whole bike situation works out, and it's going to be fun to watch that racing. Now, next up, let's talk about, how about Stock 1000? Let's do it. Last year's classes, they raced 8, all right? And with this year, they're going to increase to 11, and the class champion was Andrew Lee. He's going to stay in the class, run that number 1 plate, I'm guessing. I didn't actually ask him about it, but so we talked to him about what he thinks about 2019.
From what I know, this point in is the class is going to have a lot of competition. Derek and I have looked around, and there's probably about 10 of us that can compete for pretty good positions. So I'm really excited for how the class is developing. But with our program, I feel like, again, this year we're going to be pushing for the championship, but I know there's going to be a lot more competition.
A lot more competition is kind of an understatement, don't you think?
It really is, yeah. Yeah, I mean, both him and Travis Wyman last year, they kind of came out first year in this class, and they were really the two that did the whole series. And then we started seeing some people come in towards the end. Chad Lewin, he's going to be coming back on a Yamaha, and Travis is obviously going to be coming back on his BMW, which is great, because a couple of weeks ago we didn't see him on the list, and now he's shown up, which is perfect. I'm really interested to see Stefano Mesa. He's going to be coming up from that Florida region, and we saw him last year at some of our MotoAmerica races when Weir kind of came in and brought their 1,000 class or their open class. We saw him dominate that series. It'll be interesting to see him make the switch from the Pirellis to the Dunlops, how he does. Dustin Dominguez is coming back. Miles Thornton, another kid that I think is tremendously talented. He's going to be up on that 1,000 GSXR with Altus Motorsports. So to see him come, it's going to be good. I think the one guy, Michael Gilbert, will be a guy that will be, Team Norris this year, the new team. He's going to jump on 1,000 as well. So, Andrew is still the guy that I think that these guys are going to have to go through. He has actually made his program better. When you hear him talking about Derek, he's talking about Derek Keys, who is crew chiefed with him last year and winning the championship. He's also got big support from Graves. So, and he went out and found, out of the industry sponsorship with Franklin Armory. So Andrew has a great program. It's probably the most relaxed I've ever seen him going into a season. Yeah, there's going to be 7 or 8 guys that are going to be battling for this championship as well. It's going to be another one of those ones to watch.
Bradley Ward from Great Britain's in the mix on that fly racing bike.
Do you know Bradley's background? Do you know his background?
No, not really. That's the thing. But I've heard he's pretty strong on the motorcycle. So
he's big. He's a bit of a bigger guy. He's been riding 600s at Chuckwalla. You're not going to find a nicer guy. Bradley is just awesome, but his background is Supercross. So he's getting injured a little bit in Supercross, and I think he's only been road racing for literally 2 years. But he's so big. A 600 is just, when I say he's big, he's skinny, but he's just tall, really tall. And I think that I saw him out there this weekend. He was wrapping up a couple class championships with CVMA on the 600s. And I think that he will be, I think if Bradley can go to each one of these tracks that he's never seen with his inexperience, and my advice to him is just got to finish all these races. You're going in there with a bunch of guys with a lot of experience. Go in and finish these races and get those laps in so that you can build your confidence in getting up to speed on the 1,000. So, but yeah, his background is Supercross and from England. So he'll be fun. He'll be another fun guy for us to watch.
And I love the mix of bikes that are in this class. And the thing about Stock 1000 too is that it's very contingency driven. So you have a lot of Kawasaki's, you have a couple of BMWs, you have Yamahas in there. You mentioned Miles Thornton on a GSXR 1000. So you can tell that when you look at that class too, that, okay, riders are going out there not to just go spend money and get broke, but to actually make some money. And the contingency that's laid up for this class, I think is excellent. And that's why you're seeing a different mix in Stock 1000 than you do in the Superbike class. Would you agree?
But I agree. And I think, Greg, you kind of bring up a point that you and I had talked about earlier, is that there just seems to be more strength now in our series. I think more people are getting interested in seeing some of the manufacturers posting contingency and that kind of thing. It just kind of shows that everybody's watching. And again, credit to the MotoAmerica guys for that, because it's showing that the manufacturers are paying attention. The fact that teams now like Altus are wanting to build a GSXR 1000 for talent like Miles Thornton. And, we saw Dustin Dominguez a while ago in our 600 Superstock category, 5-6 years ago. And we've kind of see him bounce around a little. And the fact that Dustin's going to be back in Atlanta. The last time we saw him, I think he fell off at Pittsburgh and got a little banged up. So I was happy to see some stuff on social media that he was going to be coming back and riding. But the thing is that you're 100% right. You're seeing manufacturers and teams both getting behind another championship. And I think, didn't we go to Atlanta last year and maybe have 7 riders in this class? It was very few.
Yeah,
maybe 10.
Very few. Yeah.
And Wayne said at the beginning that there's a gigantic percentage up on class entries, and this is going to be another one of those classes that we're going to see a lot more guys in with a fight and in with a chance.
It's similar to Stock 1000 then is the Twins Cup class, right? They raced 8, now they're racing 11. And in the 8 venues that class visited, they had a total of 54, Jason, 54 line up to race all of last year. However, just for Road Atlanta this year, the class entries are 39. So, and there's some really fast racers that are now calling Twins Cup home. So we chatted with reigning champion Chris Parrish about what he thinks 2019 is going to be like.
I honestly think that it's a little bit more action. I think the bikes are kind of an underdog type of bike. Essentially, it is a naked bike, like a starter bike, kind of like the way the 600s used to be back in the day. And the 600 class, it was a good race to watch. And at the same time, there's a lot of veterans out there, that all of us have raced in years past. in a lot of races, whether it's club or pro. And then you have like some kids that are coming up from the Junior Cup class. To be able to watch them come up in a, on a bigger bike, I think it's going to be exciting. I really think it's going to be good, close racing. We had an engine change this year. They gave us the 2 mil on the SV, which gave us a little bit more low-end horsepower. I can say it's not really that much on top as far as horsepower gain, but a lot on the lower end. Along with the new Yoshimura Alpha pipe that they hooked us up with, it really helped that SV engine a lot. So, but we've got a big gun going into 2019.
So obviously Chris is going to run that number 1 plate, Jason. And if you've seen anything on social media, yesterday he kind of rolled out, maybe it was today, he rolled out even the new bodywork that he designed for his SV, and his Ghetto Customs, SV 650 is looking really good. But he talked about it. There's veterans in this class and there's young people in this class. And I hate to play favorites, Jason, but if you look at number 16, Alex Dumas, who is the LiquiMoly Junior Cup champion, racing for the Road Racing World Young Guns team, you got to at least look at him and go, ooh, I can't wait to see what he's going to be able to do on this bike. And does he automatically become a favorite? I don't know. Because, man, there are some incredible names in this field.
Well, I think the thing that intrigues me the most about this class is the amount of people that can look at the lineup and go, oh, I remember him from when. And then we got our young guys like Alex Dumas. He's not the only one. Drake Beecham is jumping up from the Junior Cup. He's coming in here. Joseph Blasius is the same. He's coming up. So a few of the kids have made this jump from the LiquiMoly class up into the Twins class. And I think it's a great jump for them. I think it's a really good, I want to say it's a little bit more inexpensive. I don't know that to be true, to be honest, for some of the privateer guys. But, I know that there's a lot of work that's gone into these bikes. And if you look at it, you see everything from 2003 SV650s all the way to 2019 SVs. You got the Yamaha FZ07. So there's a wide range of years and bikes, but it's a Suzuki. Basically, it's a Suzuki Yamaha class. But there's one guy. I don't know if you saw him on there, Greg. There's one guy.
Oh, I saw him.
I absolutely love seeing, and that's Michael Barnes. I mean, Michael, I'm going to put him on the spot because he's actually older than me. But Michael and I came up, through the ranks a bit, and he's going to be out there on a Ducati Monster, which I think is going to be really fun. And without question, he is going to be a hard guy to beat if that Ducati is what it was. I believe it was at the race at the end of the year. And I think Michael is going to give these guys all that they can handle. Looking down the list of people, I think it's cool that we get to see Chris Parrish come back and defend his championship. And really, this class, it made it so that guys can come back and race at a national level that might not have the money to go run Superbike and that kind of thing. And now it's gotten a little bit more serious because now we're starting to see some names on this sheet that maybe we wouldn't have otherwise seen at almost 40 entries. Are you kidding? This is going to be a great fun one to watch for me on the weekend. And I think it's going to be good close racing, but I wouldn't just go give the championship away to anybody just yet in this class. It's going to be hard.
Yeah. Especially if you go 2 mil, bore over kit kind of thing. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to try to squeeze the most out of it. Maybe there's going to be some SVs that are going to have some reliability issues because you're kind of bringing a little bit more tuning back into it. So, yeah, it's interesting. Jason Madama's back in the mix, and there's some people that have experience in the class.
What about Jeff Tiger? Another guy, Jeffrey Tiger.
Yeah, I was looking at that. Yeah, 911. Jeff's coming back, and he's another one with tremendous amounts of experience. He gets to ride. Well, he used to ride all the time. Works at Honda.
Yep.
But riding a Suzuki. So, yeah, again, stacked field. We're going to be able to see really who's going to look like they're going to be on the top, who's going to have good bikes that are going to run after our first practice session, maybe even the second practice session. And in typical fashion, you get a Twins Cup class. So they're usually the first ones out to knock the dust off the racetrack. And on Friday morning, 9:00, they're our first session that rolls onto the track that kicks off our MotoAmerica 2019 championship at the Suzuki Championship at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. New name, Jay. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
Michelin Raceway. And Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see it with the big building gone that scoring building has been there as long as I've been going there. So it's going to seem a little bit empty there. Are they building there again, Greg? Is that where they're building the new stuff, or do you even know?
They're building they're building right in that spot, the new Michelin Tower, they're calling it. So I think the foundation's laid or something. We'll get to see it when we're there, but it's definitely not going to be ready for us until we arrive next year, kind of thing.
It's going to be. It's going to be. It's weird. It just seems like yesterday we were saying, "Man, we got 3 months to the first round, and this and that, and now it's here." I started packing this morning to get down there for taking off Wednesday evening and getting down. I'll be at the track Thursday, and then boy, we go right from there to COTA. So we're going to be doing our podcast on the road again, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so. That's a perfect transition, though. Why don't we talk about the schedule? So, if you're interested in coming to a MotoAmerica race this year, of course, this weekend we're at Road Atlanta, about 50 miles north of Atlanta. So come on out if you're in the region. Then we go to COTA in support of MotoGP. They'll have all three of their classes there, plus Superbike only for us. And then the May 4th and 5th. If you don't know, a couple of these races this year are actually 2-day only events for MotoAmerica to try to cater to the fans that aren't coming out on Fridays. So we have a 2-day event at Virginia International Raceway. It's going to be May 4th and 5th. And then the June 2nd time, like that's Sunday, we're going to Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Everybody knows that area, just north of Milwaukee. Come to Wisconsin, have yourself a brat and a good time. A couple weeks after that, we're going to Utah Motorsports Campus. That is now it's Grantsville, Utah. Got whatever, they made a little change, but that's just outside of Salt Lake City. And then we go to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for July 14th weekend. And that is going to be in conjunction with World Superbike. And that's in Monterey, California. And then August 11th, just about a little bit less than a month later, that weekend, we're going to be up in Sonoma for the Cycle Gear Championship of Sonoma. August 25th weekend, we're back at Pit Race in Wampum, PA, not too far outside of Pittsburgh, up there, Pittsburgh area there. That'll be the Championship of Pittsburgh, August 25th weekend. Then we go to Jersey, September 8th weekend at, New Jersey Motorsports Park, NJMP for those local people that love it, just outside of Philadelphia, the 2000 and something Super Bowl champs. And then, which pains me to say,
come on, we're
going to wrap up the season at Barber Motorsports Park, the September 22nd weekend. That's just outside of Birmingham, Alabama. You can check out all of the, information on the calendar and all that stuff at the website MotoAmerica.com. Now, Jason, you can find it, you can find MotoAmerica a variety of places. The Superbike shows are going to air on Fox Sports 2. MotoAmerica lifestyle behind-the-scenes type of show is going to air on NBCSN. And, of course, you can see all kinds of live action on the Live Plus streaming service. And this is what Cameron Beaubier is talking about in this one.
I'm really excited for the coverage this year. I think just like for me, obviously I'm a racer, but I'm also a fan of the sport. And I think I love watching just, sitting in the lounge, getting ready for practice, watching the Supersport practices and the 300 practices, just kind of seeing lap times and seeing how the who's up front and how the track conditions are and stuff like that. And I think that'll be really cool just to be able to. The online package is pretty incredible. Being able to watch, live practice, live qualifying, all that stuff straight from your phone or your tablet. I think that's going to be really cool and really cool for fans to be able to follow that at home.
And I think the thing to remember too is there's also video on demand. So if you're not available to sit and watch all the coverage available during the weekend, you got it later, which is what you love, huh, Jay? I know after we're done, you go home and just listen to yourself commentate, don't you?
Oh my gosh, how did you know? I just love. Even worse is watching our stand-ups, because those are just the greatest things. I just love watching those comedy and bloopers.
The business.
No, it's so weird listening to yourself talk or seeing yourself as the worst. But yeah, no, it's what they've been able to do now with this package is make it to where you can literally just. Yesterday, I stayed away from MotoGP all day, all Moto2, Moto3. I was at the racetrack which is the worst place to be, obviously.
Rolling around going, nobody talked to me about MotoGP.
Oh my
no
gosh.
one.
Wearing a shirt that just says no spoilers, right? So, and you're walking around. All I could do is I just wanted to get home, have a quick shower, and get down and stream it right to my TV so I could watch all 3 races, which was a lot of fun. Now I could do the same thing with the MotoAmerica stuff as well, which is fantastic.
And if you're still not convinced, let Wayne Rainey sway your decision to come on out and watch, or at least see it on your favorite screen.
Well, first of all, it's the racing. You know, I would put our racing up against any other racing in the U.S., be 2 wheels or 4 wheels. I mean, we have very competitive racing. You know, the Superbike classes we saw last year. You know, this year, Greg, we have so with all the racers in the class, if we take all the championship that those racers have, there's 14 championships between all the different riders in the class. So it's very important that somebody comes out early and gets on top of the Superbike championship. But the other thing that we've done is that we've done a big investment for our the marketing sponsorship side. We've added 5 new people there, and then everything we learned last year about our events for the fans and stuff to attend. We see what we did at Sonoma last year with the carnival. This is something that we're doing at all the races. So we expect to see a big turnout from the fans this year as well.
So Jason will be bringing autograph stock to all the events, and so we'll sit him out. And if you come, Jason will sign. Yeah, he'll sign an autograph for you.
Yeah, nobody knows who we are. Nobody knows who we are at the racetrack, G-Dub. All right, they're not there for us for sure,
folks.
Yeah, we're just the ones that everyone complains to when they can't get it somewhere. But that's all changing now, so we're not going to have to worry about that anymore. I hope. So and hopefully the weather stays good for us.
That's really the big deal. I want to see some good weather this year at Road Atlanta. You know, being that it's a Monday right now, looking at the forecast, it definitely could be hit or miss. But I'm hoping for just a really good season all the way across the board, especially with the amount of things that MotoAmerica is doing this year for the coverage. I mean, it's an unbelievable feat that people really don't know about, to take the television production in-house and start to do it yourself. They've got a lot of good people in place, and so there's a lot of content to be generated, a lot more new faces and new names that you're going to see, and a lot behind the scenes that you don't see. They're going to be putting all of this on, and really your attendance is key. I mean, it's really key, folks. If you're thinking about coming to a race and you have a little bit of budget where you can spend on yourself for a good entertaining time, you heard Wayne Rainey talk about there's some other things you're going to do to entertain some folks while you're there, not just on the racetrack. It's totally worth coming out to a race, and bring your friends. I guarantee you're going to be the biggest hero in the world if you can get somebody along the fence line and watch motorcycles go by so close you could spit on them. Don't spit on them, by the way, but I'm just saying that close. There's nothing like it. You'll always turn your friends into fans, especially if there's a corner you can get to and have them within arm's reach dragging their knee at 100 miles an hour. It's absolutely spectacular.
Well, I think the cool thing, too, is our series has become relatable again, Greg, because now whether you ride a Yamaha, Suzuki, Kawasaki, whatever it is that you're riding, you could come to the track and actually root for that bike in our championship. I mean, you know, we've got BMW there now, we've got Ducati there now, which is great. I think that the neat part about being a fan of the sport is whatever brand that you've gone out and bought, now you can come to a MotoAmerica race and root for them a bit. And hopefully in the next year or so, we're going to see a presence from Honda again, which would be tremendous, and things. So even Aprilia, where we're kind of waiting for them, but now we've got a lot of the other manufacturers on board. We got a lot of the manufacturers posting contingencies. It's an exciting time. I know for you and I personally doing the TV stuff, we have new people that we have to get used to, and we still get to work with a lot of the people that we've worked with the last few years that I'm looking forward to seeing again. All in all, I think even our broadcast is going to be so cool having Dylan Gray involved this year. Having Hannah back, of course, is great. All of it is kind of gelling well together. I'm nervous and excited, and a lot of high anticipation going into the first round this weekend at Road Atlanta.
So make sure you check out MotoAmerica.com. You can see that whole Live Plus situation going on there, where if you didn't do the pre-sale, it's on normal sale now, so you can sign up anytime you want, or you can even do event to event if you don't want to really commit to the whole the whole chunk of corn in one big deal. You can also get tickets for each event at MotoAmerica.com. And Jason, really, our thanks to Wayne Rainey and all the racers that participated in this podcast. Thanks for taking the time to spend some time talking to us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And good luck to all the competitors. Any of you guys that listen to our podcast, good luck to all of you. Have a solid, safe first race and a good season. And we're going to look forward to seeing you at the races.